Welcome back, everyone. I hope you guys had a really good holiday break. Mine was nice, quiet, just me and my boyfriend. We had a couple of friends over on Christmas Eve for dinner, so it was a nice Christmas. But let's get down to business. I want to talk about the anti-trans language from the hateful right toward just trans people in general, but particularly towards gender-affirming surgeries. And changing the language surrounding gender identity was an important step for the right because they know they have no evidence to back their claims. Their tactic is to use false information and fearmonger uneducated people. So every major medical association has publicly stated Donald Trump and Republicans are incorrect about gender identity, and their anti-trans behavior is doing a lot more harm than good. So recently here in Seattle, where I live, the Trump administration and HHS, which is RFK, attacked the Seattle Children's Hospital. So the investigation could result in this hospital losing its Medicare and Medicaid funding. And this is Republicans' tactic. They say comply with our discrimination towards trans people or lose your federal funding for your hospitals. That's the threat that they are making to hospitals right now. But over 20 states now, including the state of Washington, are suing over this discrimination. Recently, there's also been a further merging and buyouts of mainstream media channels. So we're going to start seeing even more anti-trans language. From news articles to legislation to public speeches by the president, they use catchphrase terms like men and women's sports and men and women's bathrooms. And they refer to gender-affirming surgeries as genital mutilation. So according to a post on X by the Health and Human Services, it said sex-rejecting procedures for children and adolescents are neither safe nor effective as a treatment modality for gender dysphoria, gender incongruence, or other related disorders in minors. So this is a false claim littered with hateful language. Gender dysphoria is a disorder that's a byproduct of the false assumptions that we make as humans, and primarily in this case that being male or female comes with a certain set of characteristics. We also call that a stereotype. But stereotypes are not true. And the existence of trans, non-binary, and intersex people are living proof of that. It's also false that gender dysphoria is a mental illness. It just isn't. The reason trans people experience gender dysphoria is because there's negative stigma attached to trans identity thanks to uneducated Republicans. So the stereotype from the right that trans women are just predatory men is a form of dehumanizing propaganda using malicious intent, meaning they are using false stereotypes to further a political agenda and hurt a minority group. The term sex-rejecting procedures is delusional because gender-affirming surgeries are there to reinforce the gender you identify with. So you're not rejecting your sex at all or your gender, you're enhancing it. Gender-affirming surgeries would be any surgery that aligns with your gender identity, and cisgender people have way more of these surgeries than trans people do. So women get breast implants, lip fillers, Botox, vaginal rejuvenation. Men get penile and testicular implants and breast reduction surgeries, hair transplants, facial surgeries. For cisgender men, breast reduction surgery, which is also called chest masculinization, is the #1 gender affirming surgery. So why do they only call it mutilation when trans people have these surgeries? The answer is transphobia. It's because of transphobia. The right doesn't believe that trans people deserve the same things as everyone else. The right also thinks that trans people only exist as liberals, politically. But gender identity has nothing to do with politics. There's gender diversity in every group of people, whether they come out of the closet or not. Also, we notice most of this terminology is focused towards trans women. Trans men aren't seen as much of a threat. And why is this? People frequently ask me this. It's because the political right is based on sexism that has a male preference. Trans women to the right are seen as a threat to the idea of traditional masculinity and people that are born male. That's why the attacks are so brutal against trans women. They see trans women as men who are defying societal expectations of men. But their failure is the failure to recognize that trans women are women too, and they're not gay men. Extremely religious and uneducated people don't understand this concept. They have not been educated on gender to know that gender is not attached to your sex parts. So we see the transphobia come out when insecure men feel threatened. Sometimes being threatened to them is just being in the same room as a trans person. And in their fear, they react with violence. And this is why trans women face such high violent assault and murder rates. It's a direct result of men being insecure in their gender, sexuality, masculinity, etc., or a combination of all of those things. Their constant bullying is what causes anxiety and depression in transgender people, and they claim that trans people just need mental health care, completely unaware of the fact that trans people undergo a lot of mental health treatment more than anyone else because it's required to transition. And the mental health issues that we experience come from bullying, anti-trans legislation or laws, like we're seeing right now from Republicans, and societal stigma. And these anti-trans laws encourage societal stigma. So this is why disinformation and misinformation from the right is so dangerous, because they're not teaching the truth in order to fearmonger violent, insecure men. Republicans are living in a delusional world where trans and intersex people don't exist. But we do exist. Our identities are valid. And doctors, psychiatrists, teachers, medical professionals, and all major medical associations agree trans identity is real and valid. Gender affirming care is not harmful. In fact, it's life-saving for trans people. We have always existed. We always will, no matter what Republicans do or say. Thank you guys for listening. Please like this, share it, follow me for more news like this. I'll be back soon. Bye, guys.